Hello, welcome to obedience. So in this video, we're looking at obedience to authority. Obviously, Milgram's study is a classic into obedience, why people obey authority figures, um, especially considering he based it around the Holocaust and things. Like why would people obey orders from an authority figure to hurt someone else? So the obedience is an interesting one because there's different factors that can affect whether someone is likely going to obey an order. So, for example, if you're in a uniform, people are more likely going to obey. There's a study by Bickman who looked at this, and he had a security guard, a milk person, and just a general public in normal clothes. And they found that people were more likely going to obey an order to pick up some rubbish if they were asked by the security guard compared to someone in civilian clothes. If you think about this in everyday life, you're more likely going to obey a police officer in a uniform than just someone on the street, like jeans and a t-shirt or something. Okay, so the uniform makes a difference, and this is what Milgram found with the experimenter in the lab coat. If you put that coat on, it gives you a sense of authority. Other factors that can affect obedience is the situation. So situational factors like proximity, how far away is the person giving you the orders, that can affect it. So if someone's in the same room as you telling you what to do, would you obey more than if you got an order over the phone? Now, this is quite interesting because Hoffling did a research study looking at 22 nurses, and a fake Dr. Smith called up the hospital and asked the nurses to give a kind of lethal dose or too much dose of a fake drug called Astrophen. And they had to go and administer it to the patient. And this is a field experiment. So, and what Hoffling found was that 21 out of 22 nurses obeyed the order or the potential order to go and give this dummy pill. Although they also didn't know that to the patient. 21 out of 22. Now, this is someone who gives an order over the phone, and I think it just shows like because it's a doctor and they have authority, people are more likely going to obey. However, nowadays, obviously, I think you have two nurses who have to sign the medications out and things, and I don't think they can take orders over the phone. But it just goes to show how people will obey a perceived authority figure. Another factor is the agentic state. So if you're doing something because someone's told you to do it, you are then in what's called an agentic state. You're an agent of them. So if you got in trouble, you just say, "Well, I'm just obeying orders. My boss told me to do it." If you're in an autonomous state, that means that you're in control of what you're doing. You're kind of accountable. This is what's called the agency theory. Are you obeying orders from someone else? You're an agent, or are you in an autonomous state? And these factors all affect whether someone will obey an authority figure or not. Just make quite interesting research, some of the studies. Now, authoritarian personality is a factor we've looked at already. So this is someone who will obey depending on the social hierarchy or the status of the person giving out the orders. This stems from the strict parenting as a child. An authoritarian personality isn't someone who likes telling people what to do. They're more likely going to obey an authority figure. They're less likely going to obey someone who's lower perceived status on the hierarchy. Culture can make a difference as well. If you're from a collectivist culture, it's more about fitting in with the group and things. You're probably more likely going to obey there. Because group cohesion and respect for authority is important. Whereas if you're in an individualistic culture, you're probably less likely to do that. And then social identity theory if you identify with a certain social group or an authority figure, that then emphasizes the importance of group membership, and then therefore you're more likely going to obey as well. So these are some of the factors that affect obedience to authority. Definitely suggest looking at Milgram's study. I'll try and put some clips on there, and also read up on Hoffling's research with the 22 nurses. It's quite interesting because I think they were asked initially, would they have done it? And obviously, large proportion said no, they wouldn't. But then in reality, they did. So people can say one thing and then obviously behave in a different way. So just to conclude, then, obviously Milgram and Zimbardo gets criticised for the ethical issues. Both those studies kind of led to an ethical reform because participants had stress and psychological harm, deception. In Milgrams, they didn't feel like they could withdraw because they were getting verbal prods from the experimenter, like, please continue, the experiment requires that you go on. You have no other option but to continue. So sometimes, like a Milgram study, the only way to get out of the study was to finish it. So that could be a reason why they went all the way to 450 volts. They didn't feel like they could get out. And also, you've got what's called gradual commitment. So if you're gradually committing in small increments, the change is less noticeable. So you kind of just keep going. If you went from 0 to 450, that's like a massive change. So all these factors make a difference in whether you actually can obey or not. So obviously, you've got to, when you're doing research nowadays, you've got to look at the ethical guidelines and make sure you're ticking all the boxes, really. That was one of the advantages of Reich and Haslam's BBC experiment that kind of simulated Zimbardo, because they had an ethical committee on site 24 hours. So, it's more ethical kind of study. Then obviously you got to weigh out the cost and the benefit. Is the cost of, say, causing some stress, is it worth it if the findings lead to some kind of changes, which Zimbardo's didn't, unfortunately. So thanks for watching this one. Do your own independent research, and I'll see you in the next video.